After we got finished with this, Judy came in and said, go ahead, Judy.
I think I have an equivalency of for the question for a man.
It's a sort of question, and just to set the stage, so the equivalency is, when a woman says, do these pants make me look fat? And I was saying, I think there's some parallel questions, and I didn't really have a good example, and you came in with a incredible example. So go for it.
Welcome to Couples Therapy in 7 Words. I am your co-host, Judy Alexander, and I'm here with my husband, Dr. Bruce Chalmer.
Well, hello, Judy, and hello, listeners. Judy, tell folks the title of this week's episode.
Do these pants make me look fat?
What a great title. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, folks, and we're going to have to sort of put that in context when we get going. But before we do any of that, we need to put in a plug for a few things. First of all, the exciting news about my new book, which did hit #1 in its category on Amazon, and that book is...
It's Not About Communication, Why Everything You Know About Couples Therapy is Wrong.
And so I want to urge you, if you haven't already acquired it, I want you to urge you to go get it. You can get it anywhere books are sold. If you don't want to support the evil empire, it doesn't have to be Amazon. Although I have to tell you that we really want Amazon reviews. So for those of you who have bought it and read it, I do urge you to give us a review. Of course, we're looking for a 5-star review. It's really easy to do. You just go to the page on Amazon and you scroll down to where it says write a customer review, and you write a customer review. It doesn't have to be long, but just something, that indicates you had some relationship to the book. We would really appreciate that. And also, let's mention the book that got this podcast started a few years ago, which is...
That's right, Reigniting the Spark, Why Stable Relationships Lose Intimacy and How to Get It Back.
And that's available too, anywhere books are sold. So please do that. I have... should I put this offer out on the podcast? Why not?
Why not?
Now that I've said that. I have a bunch of codes for a free, that is to say, free of charge, download of the audiobook of It's Not About Communication that I did the narration of. And we are looking for more listener questions. Regular listeners to our podcast know that we often include listener questions, especially when we're interviewing guests. And we could always use more. And so I am offering a free download of my new book, It's Not About Communication, to anybody who sends us a question and, one that we deem that perhaps we'll use on our podcast. So there's your offer, folks. You can send it to us at either Bruce or Judy at ctn7.com, or you can just go to our website, ctn7, that's the number 7, ctn7.com. And there's a way you can send us a message there. That's a good way to send us a question. And you can also suggest folks who might be on the podcast that way. And of course, while you're at our website, don't forget merch. We got merch.
We got merch.
We got merch. We got mugs. We've got t-shirts. We've got tote bags. With our beautiful logo and our inspiring slogan, which is...
Be kind, don't panic, and have faith.
Be kind, don't panic, and have faith. Those of you who are on TikTok, I shouldn't make a promise, but by golly, I'm working on a TikTok video that will set that to a beat. That's going to be either massively embarrassing or massively exciting, possibly both. Actually, I think that's how you get attention on TikTok, sort of bits of both. So let us turn to our topic.
Yes, do these pants make me look fat?
Yes. Now let's put that in some context, shall we?
Okay, yes, let's do that.
Yes. The first thing I would note about that question, when do you hear this question classically?
Classically,
set the scene.
Okay, yes. So you're getting dressed to go out or getting dressed to go to work, and maybe you've put on a few pounds. I'm talking like woman here, and
let me underline that for a second. So classically, this is a thing a woman says
to a man,
to her male partner.
Right.
Yes.
So you're getting dressed, you put on your clothes, you look in the mirror, and you're not quite sure. A little tight here, honey. Do these pants make me look fat?
Aha. And that question strikes terror into the hearts of many men. Now, I have to put in a couple of little, prefaces here. First of all, there are lots of people who would say, what an awful question to even be discussing. Because it makes all of these stereotypical assumptions about women being, what would you say, vain or something, and body shaming is included in that, and the fact that it makes men seem like idiots. We often are idiots, but that's not the way that the people who are criticizing this question would put it. They'd say we're idiots in different ways usually. And all of those things are valid criticisms. I will also note that the reason this has come up, and this, we talked about this as a potential topic, the reason it's come up is because I hear this, not always this exact question, but I hear this issue a lot in my actual work with real live people. This sort of thing comes up, and it's usually gendered in this direction. The woman will ask the man something like this, and the guy says, oh no, what do I say here?
Right. Well, I love that cartoon that has been circulating for years on Facebook, where the woman says, do these pants make me look fat? And the man is looking at her and says, do I look stupid?
Exactly. Right, because it feels like it's a trap.
Yeah, that's right. It does. It feels
no matter
like
what
it's
he
a trap.
says, he's going to be in trouble, at least potentially. So.
Because, if they do, and he says no, she's going to go out, and there's going to be a girlfriend that's going to say to her, those pants getting a little tight there, they might not be the best pants for you. And then, she comes home and says, why didn't you tell me?
Exactly.
I had to hear it from Betty that my pants are making me look fat. You could have said something when I asked you.
Yes. So let's look at this question from a couple angles. I'm gonna telegraph something here that we'll come back around to.
Okay.
Remind me to come back around to it if I forgot. Which is, this is classically a question a woman asks a man. There are, it's not an exact parallel, but there are questions that a man might ask a woman that have a similar quality to them that I'll come back around to.
Oh, okay.
And it's not exact, but I'll come back around to it.
Okay.
So here's my thesis about this.
Okay, let's hear your thesis.
Here's my thesis. The reason this is such a difficult question is that now again, this is not just any woman asking any man. These are intimate partners.
Correct.
It's a woman, say, asking her husband or asking her boyfriend or asking her significant other, And when any time she's asking him that question, the reason this is so hard is because it's actually at least two questions.
Oh.
The one that is stated.
Yeah.
And the one that is in what I like to call the closed captioning. One of my favorite metaphors, the closed captioning. Listeners, I'm guessing you're all familiar with the concept of closed captioning on TV, right? You can turn it on or you can turn it off. We were noticing, didn't we read an article about this or something? You and I have been using it a lot, closed captioning.
Especially in PBS British shows.
That's right. Especially when, they're speaking a language that in theory we speak, but apparently don't. There's that. And then there's just, hearing issues and things like that. But apparently young folks are doing it a lot.
Yes, we were reading about that. Well, in fact, I think it was my daughter that actually got me started on the closed captioning, because when I would go to her house and if we would watch something, she always had closed captioning, and I asked her about it. But I was reading an article in the paper that was talking about how people are just using closed captioning these days.
So the interesting thing about closed captioning is it reveals to you things you might not otherwise hear, and moreover, you can turn it on or off.
Yeah.
And those are, I think, important bits of the metaphor for me. So the question, do these pants make me look fat? Of course, indeed. In the story you told, it sounds like the woman you were thinking of in that story. I don't think you've ever asked me that exact question.
I have not.
But we'll come around a little bit to my favorite answer. You already know it. The listeners, unless you're subscribers to my newsletter, you don't know it. And if you, by the way, subscribe to my newsletter and I've addressed this. So it's two questions. The one question is the explicit question. Please give me fashion advice. The pshat, yes, exactly, yes. For those Jewish listeners who are versed in Torah study, the pshat, which is the plain meaning of the text. So the plain, never mind getting into the deep, the homiletic meanings or the Kabbalistic meanings or the hidden, the associational meanings, whatever. This just on its face is saying you are asking for fashion advice.
Right.
Perfectly legit. No, nothing wrong with it, right? The problem is there's another side to it, which is let's paint a a simple picture here. Suppose it's not about intimate partners. It's about a woman in a fashion house, and she is saying to the male fashion designer, do these pants make me look fat? And by fat, and again, I get the fat shaming thing or the body shaming thing here, but there's an implication. Really, what they're saying is, do these pants make me look bad in some way? Mm-hmm. It's not just a question of literally fat or thin or whatever. It's more a question of, do these look good on me? Are they flattering? Do they look good on me?
Right.
If you're asking that of a fashion person, what you're expecting is an expert opinion that says, in my expert opinion, that those are good on you or they're not good on you. Fair enough. That's a perfectly legitimate question. The other thing, if you turn on the closed captioning, the other thing, now you can hear my hesitation. Why did I hesitate? I don't want to claim this is always inevitably true. What I want to claim is that it is a really good assumption for the man to assume this is true, even if it isn't, because it won't get him in trouble if he assumes it's true, even if it doesn't happen to be. The assumption he should always have is the closed captioning. If he turns on closed captioning, what he will hear her asking is some combination of these questions. Do you love me? Do you respect me? Do you esteem me? Do you honor me? And, am I safe with you? All of those questions are implicit. I'm going to claim it's a good idea for either partner, by the way, to assume those questions are implicit in anything they ever say to each other. And that's the difference between being an intimate partner and being a fashion expert, or even being a girlfriend who is looking out for you, who may love you and is looking out for you, but isn't, this is not a person that you're constantly worried, oh no, do you love me, respect me, and am I safe with you?
Yeah.
So if the man recognizes with the closed captioning on, well, it's part of the reason why the guy goes, deer in the headlights on that question, is because part of it is sensing it's a loaded question.
Of course.
It's not just give me some fashion advice. It's like, what do you think of me?
You think? You don't think it's like, do these pants make me look fat?
Well, it's both.
Yeah.
No, it's not one or the other. No, you're absolutely right. The pshat, the plain meaning is there. And look, I am making a much more radical claim.
Yeah.
I'm saying anytime you say anything to me or I say anything to you, if we turn on closed captioning, underneath it, there's always that sense of, how do you feel about me? And I sure hope you feel good about me because you're super important to me and I will be devastated if you don't like me. You know what I mean? It's that, or if you don't honor me, if you don't love me.
I guess the answer comes out knowing what that subtext is.
Well, that's the problem, because if the man focuses on, what if he sees, and in his opinion, his immediate opinion is, I don't think it looks very good on you. And he also recognizes, and this is how I apply it, and of course let me get into what I routinely say. You know what I routinely say.
I know what you routinely say.
And I mean it when I say it. And this by the way, folks, don't just take this as a script to use. Only say this if you actually mean it. But what I routinely say to you, again, you've never asked me that exact question, but you have often asked me, do you like, do I look good in this outfit? Or things of that sort. And I will always say, and always mean, I'm not the greatest judge in terms of fashion because you look beautiful to me no matter what you're wearing.
Oh.
And it's,
I know, and you're so sweet about it.
Well, and I'm not just, I'm not just pouring on the molasses here.
You're very sincere when you say it.
I really genuinely mean that. When I fell in love with you, you became the most beautiful person on earth to me and continue to be so. So that will always affect how I look at you. And so if you're telling me, how does this look? I like to put that one first because that addresses the closed captioning. And again, another bit of my shtick here, right? I claim the closed captioning is always more important than the pshat, even though the pshat is important. I don't want, if I never, if I ignored the pshat of what you're saying, are people going crazy out there listening saying, why do they keep saying pshat? The plain meaning.
the plain meaning.
It's
but pshat is so
Jewish
easy.
talk.
It's nice.
Yeah, Jewish talk. If I ignored the plain meaning, the actual explicit text of your question, that would be disrespectful.
Yeah.
You're like, no, tell me, what do you really think about this? So I will often, having addressed the closed captioning, you'll note this, I will often follow it up with some opinion if I have one. Now it's interesting because of that, my closed caption answer, which is I love you no matter what. And it's not just that I love you, you look beautiful to me. You're asking how you look. In my eyes, you look beautiful. That's a given. So, all right, now let me attempt to apply my undoubtedly limited fashion sense, let's face it. There is that issue too, because there are guys who have much better fashion sense than I do, and that's not saying much, folks, unfortunately. But nevertheless, I have on occasion said, I think I like the other one better. Or I don't know if that. Yeah. Well, I remember when we were shopping for wedding dresses, and we were coming up on. And you know what? When this episode drops, and we're recording it about a week in advance, that'll be the day before the 20th anniversary of our meeting.
Aww.
Yeah. And so, the folks who've listened to this know we're a second marriage. And so we were, I was already in my 50s at that point, early 50s. And, a year later, we were looking around our wedding dress. It's, it's an older couple where the guy would be involved in shopping for a wedding dress, let's face it.
That's right. And we were with your parents,
and with
too.
my parents, may they rest in peace, yes. And I remember saying to you, one of the dresses you tried, and I said, that looks good, but I think you can do better. Because it said, you looked really good, but I know you're a knockout, and that wasn't a knockout dress. And then you got one that was. So I am able to express an opinion that will say, no, not so much that one,
Yeah.
But I never want to say anything to you ever that would indicate that you're diminished in my eyes. I always want to honor you no matter what. That's true if I'm annoyed. Especially if I'm not annoyed, and we've touched on this in other times. The notion of honoring your partner is crucial in pretty much all circumstances, and that's the closed captioning. The closed captioning always needs to be indicating, by the way, I love you, respect you, honor you, and you're more important to me than what you're wearing. And then you can offer the opinion. So I'm curious about, I've been going on for a while.
I just want to know if these pants make me look bad.
Right. You just want a straight answer, don't you? And look, you're up against two things there. One is that I'm a therapist, and a therapist never gives a straight answer to anything. Because it's not that I don't want to give straight answers, it's that I'm constantly deconstructing everything.
Right.
So, it's like, oh God, what are you going to get from me? You're not going to get an opinion, I'm constantly, looking at, well, there's this hand on the one hand, on the other hand.
Yeah. But no, I see what you're saying, that too often people will take that on face value, and it's not just, do these pants make me look fat?
Exactly.
There's a whole there's a whole lot of other stuff that goes along with it, and there's a whole lot of stuff that can be said in the answer.
Yes.
And there's the way that you say the answer. There's yes.
Which I just can't imagine saying.
Right, or like you've said, either it's not the best look for you, or I don't know, what else have you said to me?
I like another one better.
Yeah.
There's that, or
Yeah.
I don't, or I'm not sure about that one.
Yeah.
It'll always be in a context though of, you're beautiful, and I'm not sure that brings it out in you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That would be that kind of thing. It would never be, well, and look, if you Google that question, which I did last week, and you see some of the answers that people think are funny,
Yeah.
and they're misogynistic. They're frankly insulting.
Yeah. And frankly, if you have to ask somebody, do these pants make me look fat? They do.
Well, there's that issue as well, which again is kind of in support of my thesis that that's not just what you're asking.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, for all of those reasons that, the question is really loaded. Now, I did say, I think there are some questions, they're not identical, I said this earlier, but men have a similar issue.
Okay.
Now, here I have a little bit of authority as a man, just because I don't know what it's like for women. You're the expert on women in the conversation, but that there is a parallel, because I think it's important. I want to know when I ask you anything, whatever your answer is.
Yeah.
I have the same closed captioning. very similar closed captioning. I want to know, do you love me? Do you honor me? Do you respect me? And your answers seem to reflect that. So it makes me feel good, But if I ask you, for me, it wouldn't be so much, how do I look in this? Because I barely know what I'm wearing. It would be more like, do you like the music I just wrote? Or do you think this idea I had, and I showed you, you're my first reader in my books.
That's true.
And it was very similar in that I genuinely wanted critique. I wanted an honest opinion, but I didn't want to be devastated.
Yeah.
And when I send it off to an editor, it's funny, sending it off to an editor, my editor comes back with a bunch of really, I found, insightful critiques, and I made lots of changes. I think I agreed with 90% of what the editor said. And yet, I don't want the editor to insult me either.
Right, right.
But I am looking for something from you very different from what I'm looking for from a professional editor. And you are really good at it, by the way, but that's beside the point. Our relationship isn't about that primarily. So I want to know when you respond to anything that I show you, like, it's sort of like, does this book make me look stupid? There's the equivalent. Or does this music make me seem trivial? And what I want from you could well be, I think you can do better here, or I'm not sure about that, or that. Or as you said in the earlier version of the book, boy, this section just goes on too long. And folks reading the book, you get the benefit of that, because I changed it a lot based on Judy's feedback. But I still want to feel like you think I'm important.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, most certainly.
This is an insertion, folks. If you notice a bit of an abrupt change, we're putting this in after we did the recording. So just to be totally transparent, because after we got finished with this, Judy came in and said, go ahead, Judy.
I think I have an equivalency of the question for a man.
It's a sort of question, and just to set the stage, so the equivalency is, when a woman says, do these pants make me look fat? And I was saying, I think there's some parallel questions, and I didn't really have a good example, and you came in with a incredible example. So go for it.
Does size matter?
Does size matter? Exactly.
Or does my size matter?
Does my size matter? Or is it adequate?
Right.
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
Or is it too small? Exactly, yes. Because what do you do with that?
Yeah, what do you do with that?
Yeah, because you want, it is an interesting, it is very similar conundrum, because the guy is asking, am I an adequate lover for you?
Right.
And he's putting his, never mind what he's putting where. How can I state that more delicately? He's risking his self-esteem. How's that?
That's a really good way to put it.
That's
yes.
That's a less double entendre-ish way of putting it, where he's putting it. Anyway, and indeed, so I have never asked you that sort of question.
You have never asked me
I
that.
wou't want to put you in that position. I like to put you in another position, but that's another story. Yeah. So say some more about that. If you got a question, what would you advise a woman who is asked a question similar to that? The examples I gave, as we talked about this earlier, were more along the lines of, how do you like my music, or something like this. But how would you advise a woman to handle a question like that?
Well, I'm going to bring up an old Mae West line. How about that? It's not the men in your life that count. It's the life in your men. So I would say that size really doesn't have a lot to do with it. It's what you do with your size.
Indeed.
So you can be huge and unsatisfying, and you can be smaller on the smaller end and very satisfying. So it's really not size.
Yeah.
I don't think size matters.
And the one thing I'll add to that is, because I always like to say, why would that question even come up? Because it sort of does matter a little, a little, so to speak. In other words, no, there are situations where a woman might say, this is a wonderful guy, but it just, there's not enough there, or if it's a question of size or something, for whatever reason, it's just not working for me, you know? And that is a possibility too, that these really kind of prejudicial questions, or same thing like, do these pants make me look fat? There's a reason for that stuff,
Right.
even though you don't want to end up leading with it. But I think you're right on. It's like, it's not the men in your life, it's the life in your men.
That's right.
And I guess that's probably true in terms of, do these pants make me look fat also? It's the sense of, and I've noted this many times before, how a woman, in here, speaking as a man, which is how I can easily speak, how a woman carries herself, how a woman projects a sense of appreciating her own beauty,
Right.
is a huge indicator, I think, for many men, and I speak for myself, is incredibly sexy. When a woman feels confident in her body, it's incredibly sexy, and that has virtually nothing to do with her size.
Right. And the same thing with a male, with a lover, you know, if he's confident, size does not matter.
So there we are, and I'll insert this wherever. Okay. What I was about to say, folks, was I'll insert this edit wherever it seems to go, but there you go. Anytime you talk about sex, everything is a double entendre, isn't it? So yeah, folks, you're hearing this. This is going in the episode somehow. We'll figure it out.
I always feel very respected and honored whenever you answer that subtext for me. So, like I said, I'm not the best person to ask about, do these pants make me look fat? But if we have listeners out there, how do you handle these situations when you ask your partner? And I'm probably speaking to my fellow females out there. When you ask your partner, do these pants make me look fat? Because it's a different question than, how do these pants make me look? Or do I look good in these pants?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Yeah. That's why men.
Which is why I don't ask you that question. Do these pants make me look fat? I'll ask you, do I look good in these pants? Or I'll often give you a choice of 2 outfits.
Yes. Yeah, and because otherwise it's baited, because it's like. But again, you described it earlier. When somebody asks it in that sort of baited way, which is to say, oh no. If I think maybe it does make her look fat, and I say so, I'm insulting her. And if I fail to say so, and she hears it from a girlfriend, then I've failed her. And that's why the guy is trapped. And if you don't want to trap the guy, you don't want to put him in that position.
Very true.
Yeah. But it's interesting, because it's so different to say, does this look good on me? Which is, there's an implication in, does this look good on me, that says, I look good in many things. Is this one of them? And I can easily say to you, again, there was the example I gave. I can easily say to you, I've seen you look better. I think you're beautiful, and I don't think that outfit does it for you. Much more than I could ever say anything that would imply you don't look good.
Right.
Or you look bad.
Right. And that's a much more complimentary way of saying things.
Yeah.
Yes, especially if you have a mother who said, I'm the only one who's going to be honest and tell you. Because your friends won't tell you. Take it from your mother, you look fat.
She would say that, wouldn't she?
Yes, she would.
Yes. And there's, you can interpret that variously. There was maybe some element of, honest love in there. And some element of brutality in there too. So.
Especially when it's constant.
Yeah.
But we're not here to analyze me.
Just
and my mommy issues.
Yes, indeed. I will note that I mentioned my newsletter, and the last issue, the most recent issue as of the time of this recording of my newsletter, did include a bit of this discussion, and I asked folks, and I got back several responses, and I'll talk about them in my newsletter. So actually, folks, there's a little come on for the newsletter. If you want to sign up for Dr. Chalmers' newsletter, go to ctn7.com, and you will see a magic box appear before your eyes. And it just says, something like click here to subscribe to Dr. Chalmers' newsletter. Follow the directions, folks. It's very easy. I do not spam anybody. I don't share your emails with anybody at all. And it comes out, I've been doing it every other week, roughly. So, a couple times a month, roughly. You'll get a newsletter, and it has relationship tips in it, the tip of the week, or tip of the by week, or whatever it is.
Right.
And it has
News and
schmooze, and it has what's the big idea, where I talk about one of my big ideas, at least I think they're big ideas, in a way less formally than I talk about them in my books. Although the books are pretty informal too, but I do talk about them there. And as always, I'm looking for it to be a two-way street, as indeed this podcast can be. We're looking for folks to give us some feedback on this. And especially in this question, it's a fun question. As I mentioned, I did get already a couple of, but 2 or 3 responses to that question, and I'm always looking for more. What are your thoughts about the question? What are your thoughts? Yeah, again, women out there, if you're in a position of having asked a question like that, what do you really want?
Right.
And I do invite you to, you might say, no, all I want is an opinion, and I want to challenge that a little bit. I think you're looking, I'm thinking anybody, again, male or female, you're asked a question like that, looking for an evaluation from your partner, you're looking for more than just their honest opinion. You are looking for their honest opinion, but you're looking for more than that. That's my claim.
Okay. So we would love to hear from you and hear what you have to say on the topic. And if you have another topic that you would like us to discuss, write to us at bruce@ctn7.com or judy@ctn7.com, or just visit our website, ctn7.com. And if you would like to be on our show, we would be happy to interview you. Let us know what you have to say. Go to ctn7.com and you can suggest yourself or other folks.
And if those of you who have been regular listeners have noted, we've had lots of really fascinating guests. And
we have more coming up too.
So please stay tuned.
Yes.
So let's put in another word for the book.
It's Not About Communication: Why Everything You Know About Couples Therapy is Wrong.
And you can get that anywhere books are sold. We're especially, as I said earlier, looking for you to go to, cue the Darth Vader theme here, Amazon.com, and do a rating. That's how people find out about these things. Please rate us. Of course, we're looking for 5 stars. You don't have to have purchased the book from Amazon to do the rating, by the way. So if you're one of the folks who's got it in other places, because as I say, you can get it anywhere.
And I know some of you have gotten it as gifts.
And that is true too. We've heard that because people have told us they bought several copies as gifts. I had one person write in and said they bought 20 copies as gifts.
20 copies, yeah.
I'm impressed.
That was Christmas time, right?
Yes. It was after Christmas.
That was after Christmas.
That was well after Christmas. The book didn't come out till after Christmas.
Maybe it was Valentine's Day.
Maybe it was, it's a great, it makes a great, well, it's after Valentine's Day now, folks, but it makes a great gift. Do that indeed.
Yes. And sign up for the newsletter. That's another thing that you can do at the website.
Absolutely. And you can, we've already mentioned these things. You can get the books, the other book too, Reigniting the Spark.
And it's also available in 3 formats. It's print, audio, and
Yes, an ebook. And exactly. So until next time,
remember, be kind,
don't panic,
and have faith.